Walking through the pain of a broken heart? Then tune in to Mystic Radio with Rob and Alexis. If you are a widow, navigating loss, or curious about mediumship, join them. Experience live on-air connections between clairvoyant medium Rob and Alexis and her deceased husband, Bob, alongside somatic practitioner and healing guide, Mary Stephenson. Download the KKNW app Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific or find them on your favorite podcast platform. And let this show help you heal.
Welcome to Mystic Radio with Rob and Alexis.
And I'm Bob Bordonaro, Robin's husband and producer of Mystic Radio, which is an experience, not an explanation.
Clearing energy for the show.
Welcome to Mystic Radio. I am Spirit Lady Robin Alexis, and I am known as Spirit Lady because that is what my husband, Bob Bordonaro, nicknamed me from the moment he met me. Bob opened the show live once a week for 19 years, and now what you just heard is a recording of his voice. Bob left his body on March 14th, 2026, but he's still here with us in spirit. I'm sorry. This is what grief is like. Some days you roll with it and some days you're weepy, and I'm a weepy one. But I got to tell you, each week I hear Bob telepathically tell me the theme of the show. And for weeks now, Bob and I have been sharing the importance of good friends to share life's joys with, but also times of struggle and grief. And Bob has had a quote he asked me to share again, and it's this: friendship is the hardest thing in the world to explain. It's not something you learn in school, but if you haven't learned the meaning of friendship, you really haven't learned anything. And that's a quote from Muhammad Ali. And today, it's a privilege and an honor to introduce you to Bob's very special friend and professional colleague. Welcome, Erik Krema.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Of course, I wish it was alongside Bob too, but he's here with us. So, I'm looking forward to today's conversation, and I'd like to do what I can to honor his memory as it relates to our friendship that we've had over the years, and just all the wonderful things that he's done for our radio station alongside you, Robin, over the years too.
Well, Bob, I can see him because I'm a clairvoyant medium, and he is misty-eyed. Erik, he's got his hands in front of his heart, and he's sending to you so much gratitude for helping Mary and I create this show again. And he says, there's nothing like a man who loves broadcasting. And then he's also, mentioning the crew you have of professionals that at KKNW, you really do help the people who have shows reach their audience and to, help create a healthier human race. And he's really, I don't even know what the word is. I'm seeing him. He's trying to just demonstrate visually, but to speak it in words, maybe humbled is the word. He's really excited that you're helping us help other widows bypass the pitfalls that unfortunately Bob and I created for me, because we always thought I'd go first because of my health problems, and some things weren't set up, and it's very, very challenging to grieve and go through them. And we're hoping this show is going to help widows know better and do better. But let's bring on Mary Stephenson now. She's helping me cope with being a widow. She's my co-host. Welcome, Mary.
Oh, thank you, Robin. And thank you, Erik. This is, every show is meaningful, right? Every show has its texture and like feeling, right? But there is this very warm experience that's here today. And I hope the listeners will definitely feel that too. So I am what we call a somatic practitioner and a healing guide, among other things. But what that means is that I work directly with clients to help them metabolize life as it happens. And especially in a moment when we experience the shock of loss. It's very profound to the body and all parts of us. So it changes us. When somebody transitions, it changes us profoundly. And this show is a meaningful space of witnessing. It's a celebration of life happening in real time on the airwaves. And it lets us honor the immense gifts and life-changing impact that Bob Bordonaro had on so many people. So So happy, Eric, that you could join us and bring us your appreciation of what Bob meant to you and the friendship through the years. And so, can you describe that to the listener? We'd love.
Yeah, sure. I'll begin at the beginning. When I first met Bob, he was my boss. He was the sales manager of a radio station that was it was 11:50 a.m. on the AM side and 98.9 on the FM side. And we had an office in downtown Seattle. I was brand new to radio, so I didn't know anything. And he sort of took me under his wing early on in the sales process, being the sales manager, because I sort of transitioned from programming at that time and then into sales. So, he was my boss and mentor in terms of the sales side of things. And he was a driver back then in terms of being a sales manager, and I've worked with a lot of managers over the years, and some are that way where, pressure, let's get things done. At the time, that's where the radio stations were too. So that was his job. His job was to help us all retain our jobs by inspiring us and motivating us to get out there and do the practical thing of selling. So at that time, it's sort of a surface relationship. I didn't get to know him so well early on as the human being that he is and the great person he was. It was more just, he's my boss. So that's a different relationship entirely.
What year was that, Eric?
That was 1993.
Wow, that's fascinating. You guys
Yeah.
really do go back a long time.
A long way. A funny story that I always think of when I think of Bob was, it was a particularly stressful day on this day in the office, and a woman that we worked with just decided this was the best day to bring her pet tortoise to work. And so now of course back then it was different. You were all in cubicles and you kind of in a line that led up to the sales manager's office, which had a window. And so he would occasionally be standing up, just sort of looking down the row of cubicles to make sure everybody was doing something. And so she had this tortoise in a box. Well, the box had tipped over, and now the tortoise was wandering the office. And Bob lost it. He's like, "What is this? This is not professional. Why do we have this tortoise walking around where clients could come in?" So it was just such a funny. I've never had anything like that happen in a professional setting, and it was just such a funny kind of comical thing. But at first, he was angry, but then it just sort of turned into a laughing situation for everyone in the office. It was just like, wow, how could this even happen? So it was also around that time that I actually fell in love with radio, because anyone that's been in radio, Benny can attest to this, any length of time, you never know what the next day is going to bring. It's not like working in a factory or a coffee shop or something where it's pretty much the same day after day. No, it's different. And there's lots of tortoises that happen in your life in the career of radio. And Bob, I was impressed how he would roll with the punches, Robin.
Oh boy, he was interesting with his initial flare of not being happy, and then he would shift into making things just be hilarious. Like I got a story that has nothing to do with radio, but one time he went into the DMV office and he was waiting and waiting and waiting, and there were all these people in there, and then he heard someone say when they were up at the registrar's office that it was his birthday. So Bob just stood up and started singing happy birthday, and the whole place stood up and started singing happy birthday.
I love it. I love it.
So that's Bob. He would go from rah, rah, rah to making everybody join together in a different energy. So I appreciate that tortoise story deeply.
Well, and it gave me a glimpse of things to come. We don't all change instantly. It's usually a matter of time, of things chipping away, or I always like to think of it in life, sort of changing course on a large ship. It takes a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was my first glimpse of sort of that sense of humor that he had, which was fairly dry, but he had a sense of humor that I liked. And so then we kind of moved our separate ways in our careers. He went into other markets, and I stayed with the station as it transitioned into what it is today, which is 11:50 a.m. Alternative Talk. And so when he came back with you, Robin, so there was this gulf of time where I hadn't had a lot of interaction with him. And then when he came back, I was blown away by the difference in him.
Well, please tell.
Yeah. Well, it was it was the reverse. So suddenly this sort of playful, fun person, the things that you only caught glimpses of early on, at least for me, was now the majority of his personality. And he spoke in great length about his love for you. And he made no bones about the fact that you were the thing that saved him. And I had never heard him talk like that. So it was, I'm getting kind of chills just talking about
Yeah,
it,
I just
remembering
get
the
chills
conversation.
too.
And it was so honest and vulnerable, which was absolutely the opposite of the way he was early on in my career. He was a tough cookie. So, you know, that impressed the heck out of me, but it was also just so wonderful to see. You know, people can fake being happy once in a while, but you can't all the time. And you can sense it in their voice and in their actions and just what they say about other people. And you profoundly changed him, and he profoundly loved that about you.
Oh.
So that was great. And it led to your return to, or me meeting you, and his return to my local radio station led me to really this long-term friendship amongst the three of us. I mean, I remember distinctly phone calls throughout the years of, you know, hey, how are things going? What do you want to change up? You got a new idea? Okay, maybe we can promote it this way. And these were conversations of a half an hour to an hour. But I always walked away with just an appreciation for your dedication to the show and his dedication to you and the show, making sure it would be successful. So,
Wow, Erik, I'm gonna say, wow. You can really feel the love and the playfulness that is always there, Robin, between you and Bob in this room right now. And so I just want to pause us here, so we can let that settle, and that all that love and that history just settling into the room. I'm going to take a breath with all three of you. Ooh, and we're going to take a quick break. So please stay with us, because when we come right back, we're going to hear more about the celebration of life for Bob and the brotherhood with Erik Krema. We'll be right back.
When life leaves you feeling untethered, how do you reclaim your center and step back into your full power? Mary Stephenson is a somatic practitioner and healing guide who helps individuals rebuild from the inside out. Reclaim your personal authority and save $100 on your first session using the code MYSTIC at marystephenson.com/coaching. That's Stevenson, spelled STEPHENSON.com/coaching. Your path forward is waiting.
Welcome back to Mystic Radio with Robin Alexis as we continue our celebration of Bob's life with Erik Krema. I'm going to step right back into the conversation with Robin and Erik. Here you go.
well, thank you, Mary. Thank you very much for allowing me to be on here today. And I know Benny might be chiming in too. We both have a long history with Bob. There are some times in radio sales where your clients become your friends, and this is exactly one of those times. I look to Bob from time to time for professional advice. I would say, "What would you do in this situation?" And he was always giving of that freely, and it was usually really good advice that I ended up taking. Sometimes I'd claim it as my own, to be honest, but I don't think he'd mind. I don't think he'd mind.
He's laughing. He's laughing. He says he would have done the same thing.
Yeah, maybe he taught me that too. I don't know.
Yes, he probably did.
But the thing I always appreciated working with him, beyond just sort of being a mentor early on and then a colleague, he transitioned there really nice too, where he'd seek out my advice from time to time on certain issues and vice versa. So we had that mutual colleague respect, which is different. You know, it's almost like when Your kids grow up and suddenly they're a bit more of a peer than, daddy, daughter, mother, son, But anyway, that's where it ended up toward the end here. And I just always appreciated the fact that he was open. I think if I had called any time of day, he would have picked up the phone and we would have been able to have a conversation. And you just don't get that with, say, clients. Sometimes they don't make that transition from, again, just the professional relationship to one that's a little bit more personal. It's hard for me always to separate that because I do have a passion for helping my clients in whatever they want to do. And I feel bad when things don't work out. So, there weren't many clashes between Bob and I would say over the years, but when we did have a minor scuffle about something, it was always from both sides. It was always from a place of, hey, let's figure this out. Let's move to a better path and let's just leave it. There was never this grudge that was held or anything like that. So
Yeah,
appreciate that.
he did that in our marriage too. I
Mm.
mean, we had some pretty big snuffles or whatever you want to call it.
Snuffles, good word.
Yeah. And it was diagnosed as something called compound post-traumatic stress disorder. He brought it to the marriage, I brought it to the marriage. And we don't need to go into why we each had it, but the fact is when you have it, you trigger each other. And so it's very explosive initially, and then you have to calm yourself down and make a decision to negotiate, to discuss, to work it through. And that is something that we were able to do. And if we, needed help in those phases of our marriage, we did go to marriage counseling. And so that is something also that I appreciated about Bob professionally and personally is he would initially be explosive. And then he would be very calm and want to discuss things and come to a better place. And he was that way with his own health. He suffered terribly for over 10 years with brutal, brutal, brutal back pain. He had many surgeries, all kinds of stuff. That man never complained. He was always seeking the best resolution for his health problems. So he had this intelligent approach. So even though he was clearly in unusual agony, he would approach it in the same way like you're talking about. So professionally, personally, and his own relationship with his own body, he did the same thing. So it's fascinating that you brought that up, Erik. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And as I said, it's always was with the understanding we were going to work through whatever that little issue was. We weren't going to just leave it and then walk. And there was never this hands up in the air. I'm done. I'm walking away like, a kid with the toys,
Yeah.
There was, and I've had clients do that, honestly, where it's just, they won't even negotiate a better situation. And that's just talking professionally, obviously. But, you surprised me recently, Robin, in a couple of ways. First, when you reached out and, said, "Hey, this is something that's important to me. I'm hearing from Bob and just my own self that this is something I want to do. I want to help people who are going through a similar situation, which I love that you want to do this. It's very brave, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, very brave. And that was a big surprise. I didn't expect it. I purposely gave you some space after hearing about Bob. I sent you an initial message, and then I wanted to just give you time to grieve. And also myself, it's a sense of loss for me too. It's a reminder of how long I've known him, and then to lose that when you kind of just expect it to be there every day, is difficult. And then the second surprise from you is once you decided to do the show and we kind of started working out details, you had sent me a message, really what amounts to Bob's last words. And I left it there on my computer for, I'll be honest, at least 3 days. I couldn't listen. I didn't want to listen to it until I was ready. And then I listened to it and I was surprised. I was taken aback about how much it hurt to hear his voice, honestly. Because he has a very distinct voice. I mean, anyone that met him, it's you couldn't mistake him. So that was tough, but I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad you sent me the message. But just let you know, it took me a couple days to actually listen to it.
Well, I don't know if Benny's got that queued up now or he'll be playing it later. I don't know that
actually
I
do
sent.
if you'd like to listen to it.
Yes, because I don't think Mary, our co-host, has heard it either. And then after we hear Bob's voice, I will explain what the situation was.
Sure. Here we go.
I want to remain either. I want to stop all aggressive care, and I want to remain comfortable.
That is Bob. And Mary, do you want to respond to that before I talk more about it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I just that the feeling I got was somebody who is, at the end and knows exactly what's meant to happen for himself, for his body, for his passing, for his transition. And what a gift is what I got, a gift of clarity
And
and
it
love.
was so, thank you. And Eric, is there anything you want to say before I remark on this?
No, I just, well, yes, I guess. It hits me the same way. And Mary, you said it. It was a gift to know him. And it's a gift that he had Robin, his champion, in his corner at that time to guide along with him. So I feel good about that. It warms my heart. So thank you, Mary.
So what happened, everybody, is Bob had heart surgery, and he was told he had a 4 or 5% risk factor. So we were very optimistic he would survive the surgery, and he had a mitral valve and an aortic valve replacement, and he actually came through the surgery extremely well. There was some talk of whether he needed to have a pacemaker put in, but then they decided he didn't need it, and they let him go to the rehabilitation center. And he went there because he had complex back issues and he was recovering from open heart surgery. And 3 days after Bob was at the rehab, I can't go into the whole details right now because I don't know that we have enough time. I will if we do. But for some reason, Bob fell, and I'm still trying to get the answers about what exactly happened. But when he fell, he was deceased. I was told that he was resuscitated 3 times at the rehabilitation center because he had signed what's called a do resuscitate form. And so they resuscitated him, and then the ambulance came. They resuscitated him again, and then he was in the hospital on a respirator, and they said, okay, now we need to do the second heart surgery, which is, I think they should have done it before they let him out of the hospital, but I'm not the doctor. Anyway, so after he's gone through the fall, he's had 4 resuscitations, then they give him the second heart surgery. He recovers very well from that. He's conscious, he's talking, he's mobile, but they couldn't get the respirator out. And very close to the time of his death, like within 24 hours of him dying, they finally got the respirator out. And the first thing he said was he wanted to die. And I don't have time to go into the whole, 3 weeks of things the man went through. We'll discuss it on other shows because we're going to have to for my mental well-being. But essentially what happened is I kept telling them the minute you take that respirator out of him, if you get it out of him, Bob is going to say he wants to die because he was in kidney failure at that point. He was on life support. He was not going to get out of the hospital or out of rehab and have any kind of normal life because there had been too much stress that had happened to his body. So what happened, sure enough, long story, but we're going to make it short for this. The moment they took it out, I wasn't with him because I'd gotten sick. He said, I want to die. And finally, the hospital called me and they said, you've got to come back even if you're sick. So I went back, and he kept trying to tell the doctors he wanted to die. And they said, no, you signed it, do resuscitate, and we're here to keep you well. And finally, I said to the cardiologist, what does Bob specifically have to say to unbind the do resuscitate? And the doctor said he must say precisely, exactly the words you heard him say. And he was almost close to death anyway. And that clip was edited because I had to prompt him to help him remember what to say, but he did say it, and he had to say it to 5 different doctors, and he said it, and he did it. And you're right, I was right there with him, coaching him and helping him decline, blood transfusions, physical therapy, all the stuff they still were trying to do to him that he didn't want. And then finally, after he said it to enough people, legally, they were able to remove the life support by his decision, which is so Bob, right? He was a man of reality, and he knew he wasn't going to make it. And he figured, let's just get it over with. And 50 minutes after they removed the life support, and he died. And then it was then you got to deal with, the first thing they say to you was, well, where's his body going? Like, you have the expanse of so many things, and this show's going to go into all those kinds of things that people are going to go through with other people. Either you're going first or they're going first, and hopefully you will do it with someone who loves you dearly by your side and will help you speak your truth so that you can cross over with consciousness. And I can feel Bob very keenly with us right now. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to speak through me, because I'm really feeling the gratitude of the opportunity to share this with people who love my husband. So thank you so much, everybody. And I'm going to stop talking, and you guys can finish up the show, please.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Erik, for bringing these stories and your honoring and the beauty of this love that you shared with Bob. And I just want to offer the listeners, may this conversation today remind you that you don't have to walk life's transitions alone. So as we end today's show, we just want to say thank you so much for being here. We'd love for you to please like and subscribe and download the KKNW app. And we can't wait to continue this conversation next week.
You've been listening to Mystic Radio with Rob and Alexis. Are you a widow or grieving a deep loss? Are you curious about mediumship? Then this show is for you. Join clairvoyant medium Robin Alexis as she speaks live on the air with her deceased husband, Bob, while being supported by somatic practitioner and healing guide, Mary Stephenson. Download the KKNW app Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific, or listen wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If you are suffering from a broken heart, let this show help you heal yourself.